Well, good morning guys, hope you're all doing well and welcome to the Lake District. Absolutely freezing this morning, in fact so freezing I got up at 6 this morning to set off. The van had frozen solid, took me ages to defrost that, and on top of that the pond had frozen over, so I spent the next hour trying to defrost it and fill it back up with water because it had all poured out the side of it. And obviously I've got fish in there, so I had to do something about it, but got down here anyway in time for kind of sunrise, although it's not really happened this morning. The colour hasn't really come through, although it's still nice. We're still getting bits of colour and the hills are starting to light up behind me now and get a nice bit of sort of colour on the tops of them there, a little bit of morning glow. So just got this nice simple shot of the island off in the distance there. It's frozen over, the lake's frozen over Derwentwater. So that's kind of adding to the scene as well. Just kind of hanging around and waiting for a bit more light, just to add a bit more depth and interest to the shot. So what I'm going to do this morning, because I've got this new piece of gear, I'm going to be able to show you actually what's happening on the back of my screen. So I'm going to take you to the back of the camera and kind of walk you through the composition I've got set up, the settings I'm using, etc, etc. Right, so what I'll be able to show you now is the full thing on the back of the screen. So what you'll be able to see is this full crop that I'm using on the Fuji, and I use it quite a bit. You'll be able to see where I'm putting my focus point. So if you just look at the screen now, if I use back button focus, it'll highlight the little green box. So I've got it about a third of the way, the first third of the way into the scene, just onto that little island there. Now that island I've got set off to the right hand side. I've got a lovely bit of light now hitting the tops of the mountains in the background, which is Cat Bells on the background there. So it's just a bit better than it was earlier on because there was actually no light there at all. The island's set off just to the right hand side, as I said, and then you've got all the ice down on the bottom side of the screen there. I'm sitting at about a 20th of a second on the shutter speed, f16, ISO 100, and I'm shooting about a stop under. Just short of, there we go, just to stop under, just to retain any detail in the sky, and it's just a habit I've gotten into really. You don't have to do it, you can probably bring it back quite a lot on these, but we'll grab this shot now. Right guys, hopefully you can see me okay, because I'm having to do this quite quick because we're on a bit of a boardwalk here and there's lots of people keeps walking through. So basically I've got this letterbox composition again, and I've got a tree off in the distance there. Hopefully you can see what I'm looking at. Just off in the distance there's a tree out there and it's catching quite a lot of backlight. Now obviously it's a bit of an issue because I'm shooting straight up into the sun. So what I'm actually doing, because I'm using this letterbox format, it's actually lowered my point of view so that I'm not looking directly into the sun. That tree's nicely backlit, but the sun's kind of out of shot. And also what's happening is, in the background out there, because I've got hills behind it, I've got a nice sort of contrast in that dark background of the hills behind it, and the tree actually being lit as well. So it's kind of got that a lot of separation going on there. We've also got a row of trees just beyond there, which are kind of almost silhouetted against the mountains in the background. Just really, really beautiful. Along with that, all of this frost-covered grass, which is just lovely this morning. So what I've been actually doing is, just to make sure I don't get any lens flare, I've been holding my hand over the top here. I'm focused on that tree, just off there, and I've got it kind of centered on almost on that cross section just off to the right there. In fact, if I move myself just across a little bit more, you'll see where I'm focused. So I'm focused on that tree there. Now obviously you can see geese coming into land down on the grass now as well. So what I'm doing is I'm focused on that tree. At the minute I've got a shutter speed of around 100th of a second, f16. I've tried it at f5.6 as well, just to kind of blur the background out a little bit, but I can't actually tell from the back of the screen how that looks. So hopefully what I'll be able to do is show you which looks the best at the end of this. I'll just grab this shot and I'll pop it up now. I've just had to kind of move out the way again. As I say, on that last shot, there's a boardwalk there, and it's only really enough for two people to get past, and it's quite a challenge to try and set up a tripod in the middle of it when you've got all this flow of people coming through. So I just moved up on this little hillside out the way, and I just noticed this little scene in front of me here. I'll just press record on this so you can see what I'm talking about. So looking through the viewfinder now, what I'm seeing is basically this pano again. I might as well just leave it on this pano mode because I seem to take more and more of them. It's just, the reason for it is because it's just such a beautiful sort of frame. I really love this pano format. It simplifies a lot of images for me, and I really, really like it. So what I've got is this tree in front of me here, which is kind of arching over from the left-hand side of the frame and arching over towards the right. And obviously what I've got then is all these grasses below it, which are backlit by the sun. Just looks absolutely gorgeous. So that tree's almost in a little bit of silhouette there. As you can see, I'm actually focusing on that tree, just about a third of the way in again. I'm currently at f16, shutter speed of a 40th of a second. ISO 100, but I'm shooting a stop under again, and it's basically because if I shove that up to where it should be now, which is at the 0 point, if I take an image and just take an image now, there we go. If I bring that up on screen, what you should be able to see up on screen now is the fact that those highlights look really, really bright. Now, they probably would be controllable. I'll be able to bring them back down again. But if I put my display on, you'll see it's just starting to clip on the right-hand side, just on that red channel there, just starting to clip. And you can see it flashing off in the distance there. Now, obviously, I might be able to control that and do something with it, but I'd rather just be safe and bring it a stop under just to make sure, and then take that image. Now I'll probably do the same thing as I was doing before and try stopping down maybe to 5.6 again, just to make that background go a little bit soft again. It's really difficult to see on the back of the camera what that effect is having, so it's probably just as well to adjust those settings and just try it, because when you get them back on screen you can actually see the difference it's made, if any at all. But I'm going to grab that shot as well, and if there's any noticeable difference I'll pop both of those up on screen side by side so you can actually see what difference it's made. So, just found this scene here with these trees being side lit here. I thought I'd grab a shot. I'm going to try and show you what I'm looking at the back of the camera again. You can see it's another strip pano, but I'm going to do another shot in a minute and I'm actually going to go in tighter. But yeah, it's looking really, really nice. So all you've got is these trees off in the distance there, and they've got this lovely side light into them, and they're glowing in the sunlight, which I really, really like. So using that pano again, I've gone in, and I think looking at it, I'm about a third of the way in again. Just move this focus point across. Yeah, just on the first intersecting line there, and I've got this smaller tree off to the left here, off to the left of the frame, which I really quite like. And also, again, using the mountains behind, because they're obviously in shade and darker, they're actually setting everything off. So I've cut it off near the top of the frame to get rid of any sky that sort of encroaches in this frame, and I'll grab this shot. Okay, so you should now be able to see the square crop that I'm using. I've gone in with the 100 to 200, and I've pulled up this square crop, and I've pulled out that tree that I was pointing out before, but I've put it across to the bottom sort of right hand side of the frame, and I've got half for one of those trees that are on the left there. Just a lovely little square crop, nice and simple, eliminating all the sky again and using that the backdrop of the mountains again to kind of give a little bit of separation because of the contrast difference between the darkness behind there and those side lit trees. So I'm just at a stop under again, as I was before. I'm always keeping it a stop under. F16, 25th of a second again, ISO 100, and I'll grab that shot. Right, so just showing you this scene in front of me here. You've got this island off in the distance. This island here is kind of in shade, and so is the other one, to be fair. The other one's in shade as well, but now that we've come kind of further around this bay, this island's kind of disappearing into the background. So I'm focusing more on the one that's further out there and just capturing the reflections. Now, there's a little bit more wind picked up from what there was just a few minutes ago. This was all sort of still, and we're getting really nice reflections there, but the sun's just dipping behind the hills over there now, so I think the wind's just picking up that little bit. But I'll show you what I've got on the back of the screen. So what I've got is I'm using the ice down here in the foreground. This part down here is really messy, there's lots of rocks, but I'm using the ice just as the very lower section of the image, because if I go too much higher, it's cutting it off too much and I'm getting too much sky in the frame. So just looking on the back here, you can see I've got it leveled, and I've got this little piece of ice going along the bottom of the frame there, and the central sort of portion of the image, I've got that island off to the side, kind of left of the frame, and then the sky in above, and you can see there's almost like a U shape to the actual land in the distance there, right through to the jaws of Borrowdale, and there's some really nice light coming through at the bottom end of the lake now, so just capturing that image. So I think looking at this, I actually got a better image before when it was calmer, so I'll pop that image up for you now. So hopefully what you've seen from today is the importance of using the conditions to your advantage. Those frosty conditions that we were experiencing this morning there, those images wouldn't be half the images as they are now without those conditions. So the main thing is to look for conditions like fog, frost, things like that are really going to help your photography out and make it look a little bit different. And the other thing to kind of note is, unless you're willing to go out in these conditions, you're never going to capture these images. I mean, quite easily this morning, after this morning's palaver and me not getting down here until late, I could have thought to myself, I'm not going to bother. But just having that kind of get up and go and the drive to sort of say to yourself, no, it's worth persevering, getting out there and checking those conditions out. Getting out early in the morning when it's absolutely freezing. Getting out when it's really foggy. Force yourself out into those conditions, because that's when you're truly going to get some unique images. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this week's video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you want to help support the channel, please go and check out my website and see what I've got for sale on there. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one soon. Take care. Bye bye.